Today we're going to be talking about this interesting little 360 camera, the Trisio Lite2, I think. Big thanks to pergear.com for sending this to me to test it out and share with you guys. So I actually took it on my trip to Europe and tested it out doing some 360 virtual tour scans of the Airbnbs that I stayed at in Italy. And I had a lot of fun using it. It only took about 20 minutes to scan each Airbnb, and that alone is a great plus. Here it is. Here's how it turns on. You just push one button on the side.
Battery high.
It talks to you. And then it's also got a camera button on the side, and you can either connect to the app, which is super simple. You just need to put your phone into airplane mode. Otherwise it won't connect for some reason. Kind of funny, a little glitch. So you can either control this on the phone and initiate the scan, or if you don't want to use a phone, it has internal memory and you can just push this button. It's got a little camera picture on it, and first it does a scan of the room to meter like the lighting and all that stuff, and then you just want to make sure you hide behind it while it's doing this if you're doing an actual scan and you're not showing up in any mirrors. And it just does, I think it's 3. And it stitches them together. Super easy. Saves it onto the device, or it'll save it onto your phone at the same time. And so that's it. So you just get a scan, you move it to the next spot, you do the next scan. You can label which room it is on the phone, on the app. So I would definitely recommend using the app just to make sure you keep things organized, because if you're working with an editor or if you're working like a lot of houses a day, you might forget where that room was. So definitely recommend using the app for that. It does produce an 8K image, and I think it does look really good. I don't think it's quite up there with like the higher end Matterports. Just their post-processing and rendering is a lot more complicated, I think. But especially if you're just using this for normal scenarios, or maybe you're a realtor or an Airbnb host wanting to produce your own 360 images, I think the quality is good. The HDR processing is nice, and the colors look good straight out of camera. So functionally, I think it does a nice job. Provides a interesting experience that you definitely can't get with normal cameras. And while we're talking about image quality, one thing that's really important is how does this camera balance low light situations versus well lit situations? So I thought it actually does a really good job color balancing both of them, keeping the images nice and clean looking and not blowing out any of like the lamps and light bulbs and stuff like that. So I think overall it did a really great job. It doesn't have quite enough dynamic range to do interior and exterior, both perfectly exposed, but that's probably a bit unrealistic to expect that. So in my opinion, that's okay. So on to the thing that I think is actually the biggest downside. This also could be looked at as a plus side, but it just depends on how you like to do this stuff. So unlike Matterport, they don't have their own hosting site, so you're gonna need to use a third-party app, and as far as I know, there's not any that are free. So just like if you were using any other camera for 3D tours, you're gonna have to pay for that hosting fee. So kind of a bummer, but the flip side of that is that you can choose which one you use. So unlike Matterport, where you're forced to use theirs and they could do whatever they want to with their pricing long term, you can use these 360 images on different platforms, which is ultimately probably a bonus. So there's that. It's a little bit more complicated figuring all that stuff out up front, but I will recommend some down below the video. It's got the mount on the bottom to where this goes straight into your tripod. I would probably recommend not using a normal tripod just because it shows up in your scan a lot. There's lots of them out there that have just like a really long pole part. I don't know what it's called, but then it has like little tiny legs, and they're more for mobile tripods. That's probably what you would want to get for this if you're using it a lot. So tripod works fine. It just shows up in the scans a lot more than something like that would. So just a little recommendation. So who do I think this is good for? What are my overall thoughts, etc.? Let's get into that. So I think in general, this 360 cam does a nice job. It's not the best image quality, but it is super affordable. So that makes it really approachable for a lot more people, which is really, really good. I think it's a great option for real estate photographers or Airbnb photographers. If you want to include this as like an add-on to your business, it's probably not going to be the main 360 camera you want to use if you are starting a virtual tour business though. Some of the more advanced features on the other ones, like measuring spaces, creating those 3D doll houses and stuff, that's going to be a bit more beneficial for those like higher end, higher paying jobs, or if you're working with like architects or people who need all of that more precise stuff. But especially if you're a photographer and want to get this as an add-on, or maybe you're a realtor wanting to do your own tours, maybe there's no 360 tour companies around you and you want a affordable option, this one seems like a pretty solid pick. I haven't used it long term, so I can't really speak on the long-term like durability and how long it's going to last type of stuff, but from my experience with it, it seems like a nice product. So if you're wanting to get into 360 virtual tours but haven't yet, this could be worth checking out. There's lots of other options too that are producing nice quality images as well, and maybe have some other functions that would appeal to you and what you're wanting to get into. So definitely do your research before picking which one you want. But let me know in the comments which ones are you guys using, which ones do you recommend, and feel free to share that insight so we can all help each other out. So that's about it for this video. Thanks again to pergear.com for sending this to me, and as always, I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace.